previous meeting, and the one thing that pointed out is we have a last name misspelling,
Uh-oh.
which I missed.
Who's?
Smile, you can.
The ERK.
Do I hear any other corrections to the minutes?
Actually, Wilkes, I believe Wilkes' first name is with an E as well.
Oh my God, you guys, give me a break.
I mean, I wasn't here for the meeting, but I know how
You
to
know
spell
what?
people's
Send
names.
me an email
W-I-L-K-E-S.
next time, okay? At least, because it doesn't
What
change
did
the
we
minutes.
say here?
You don't have to waste time doing it.
W-I-L-K.
Oh, we left out Wilkes the, I missed two up there. Two in a row.
I moved the minutes for the correction.
All right,
I second.
second. Any further corrections?
Who gets the
Those in
second?
favor?
I have a
There was
discussion
three.
point. before you go.
What was the third one?
Never mind, I got it.
What was it?
I have a point, Dick.
There were three different people
Get it.
who
Oh.
seconded it.
Oh,
And you have a comment before you have the vote.
Okay, so on the culvert replacement, there was a comment made that if we couldn't fit a 36-inch culvert under the road because it was too tall, we could just replace it with two 18s. That's actually not correct. We would need four 18s to make one 36, not including any other issues related to the restrictions based on the size alone, because water is not a completely frictionless fluid.
DES wouldn't let you replace it with four anyway.
Well, besides that, there was a sort of throwaway comment made that not a problem, we just put in two 18s, so
yeah.
it wouldn't be, it'd be four.
You just-
Yeah, but I don't think it isn't in the minutes with it.
No,
Well,
Dang.
but he's
there was
clarifying
left-
it for everyone in the room.
It was left as a comment made and never corrected, so.
He's gonna find that many, somewhere out
It's
there.
on the second page where there's something to do with culverts.
It's the second item. on the-
Second item.
It's a general comment about.
Yeah, the second bullet under highway department should be, it would take 4 if I s- 2 to replace, 18s to replace a 36.
I'm just gonna make a clarifying comment in this page,
Whatever.
that's okay with you,
It was
Bill?
absolutely, I just
Thank
thought it
you.
was, nobody said anything at the time.
Right.
It was-
Okay,
Some of us are not quite as on the ball.
well,
Any other clarifications, et cetera? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstain, not abstain, opposed? Abstain,
I'll
one
abstain.
abstain. All right, going to tonight's meeting. According to my schedule, we have planning and zoning up first. David, do you know everybody, or do you want us to go around the table and interview people?
I know most everybody, but
All right, let's go around the table for the benefit.
Yep.
Scott?
Scott Maine. Brian Spence.
Hayes Greenway.
Dina.
Pittsburgh.
I'm Jennifer Boylston.
James Graham.
Dick Jones?
My name's Rich Brown.
Bill Malcolm.
okay.
Matt Thibodeau.
And I'm Dave Robbins.
All right, you got the floor, Dave.
Okay, so basically I tried to keep everything is pretty much the same as last year, with a few exceptions. There were some, my miscellaneous prices have gone up on everything, and I use that for things like ink for the plotter, paper for the plotter, those types of things. So just with prices going up, I increase that a little bit. And then the planning and land use books. Every year I buy books for the planning board and the zoning board that are basically all the land use law books. And so those have gone up in price over the last couple of years. So I've increased those. And then there's in the budget a Vision license. Vision is the software that we use for the tax assessing. I'm asking for an additional license so that I can have it on my machine. I have access to it, but I have to get up and use a different machine that has a license. That machine, if the tax assessor is here or one of his assistants or Matt is using that machine, then I have to wait. And so it'd just be easier to have the software and not constantly having to change machines just for one program. And then the next item is $5,000 for planning board projects. This year, the planning board had done a survey, a mailed survey to everyone on some questions about solar. The cost of that survey was about $1,000 between printing and having the envelope stuffed and the cost for the postage. The planning board is going to be writing a new plan in the master plan this year for housing. And so they expect to have another survey coming up this year, and then if necessary, they would like to be able to have some money to hire a consultant. They don't have a definite plan, but if they don't ask for it, then you know, they definitely won't be able to do it this year. And it'll just push everything out another year. So those are really the only differences in my budget from this year to last.
Just so it probably will come up with things, with the exception of the library, in terms of wages and benefits, we always wait for the select board's budget on those items, because they're the ones that set them, not the individual departments. So there's no point in spending any time talking about this level, this spreadsheets for wages and benefits. Anybody have any questions for Dave?
And what's the role of the consultant? What are you looking for?
Oh, that's, the board is, I'm going to be writing a new chapter for the master plan on housing. And at this point in time, they're not even sure they will need one, but they're concerned that they might have, you know, trying to gather information. They would like to have the ability to hire somebody. And so that was the reason for putting it in. They're not 100% sure right now, and it might not get used.
Dave,
But-
could I speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Rich is on the, as an alternate on the planning board.
One at a time, please.
Okay.
Now your turn.
Good, I am an alternate on the planning board, and we, in a previous effort, we had the Upper Valley, Lake Central Regional Planning Commission do some work for us, some gnarly GIS stuff to say what do lots look like and what's that. If we come up with a question like that, where it would help to have somebody able to do that research, it's nice to have $3,500 or $4,000 in a budget that we know that we can spend to get that expertise, instead of, you know, the alternative is us or David needing to do a whole lot of work that's not necessarily, the information's not necessarily in hand. So that was why the board requested the $5,000.
Any other questions or comments on planning and zoning budget at this point in time?
These software licenses, are they recurring, or is this a one-time and then you're done with it? Like, you keep on using it?
It's a yearly software.
Yeah.
We have a package with two licenses in it, and this would be an additional third, and it's a yearly cost.
Okay, so I see, but that's
We
the
already
vision
have the
license,
soft-
right?
Right,
Yeah.
that's right.
So it goes, does that mean it went up from, it doesn't really matter.
He never had it before. It's
Oh,
new.
well,
It's
just
new for him.
Licensed not, so I can put it on my computer, so I'm not
Right,
interrupting people when I need to
yeah, the license.
access the information.
The software package is like $6,000.
Yeah, no, I see.
So, and if I can, what, it's on 2 workstations right now?
It's on, yes, we have it on two computers. big package comes with just 2 licenses in it. So we have one for Jordan, who's our data inputter, and then our assessor, Todd,
I see.
has the other one, and he shares a computer with Matt.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, David.
All right, thank you
can
very
go
much.
home, across the river, the north way.
Have a good
Matt,
night.
hey, that's the out of town, you're next.
All right. So we have solid waste collection, I guess we can start there. So the major raise in the collection costs is gonna be the recycling zero sort. We have to pay Casella a sorting fee per ton of recyclables. They're gonna be raising their rates from $145 to $185 a ton this year, for next year. We do get an average commodity revenue, it's like $20 to $30 a ton typically. But yeah, that's gonna be going up. The disposal side, we're gonna be getting 15% increase on the tonnages for our trash. So then, from now on, Lebanon's going to be raising that rate 12% every year for the next indefinite amount of time, so. Those are the two major, increases. Let's see. Payroll, trying to get Tim, the guy that works with me, Tim Cole, I'm trying to get him a little bit more, but he's been working with it. Compactor maintenance, that's a dependent on if something happens. We're hoping that the maintenance should help keep that from having what we had happen with our old compactors. Other than that, everything else has stayed the same. Safety and equipment and signs, we actually dropped that in the budget. Yeah, I mean, we've got ample amount of safety stuff. We do safety boots and stuff, but, yeah. Those are the two major ones, is the recycling and then the trash, the hauling charges too, but pretty even still, so we're doing good in that.
And I have to apologize, I'm sorry, Matt's written things are in here, but his spreadsheet is not, that shows last year's and this year's. Sorry. I can send that out to everybody after, just so you can look at it.
Yeah, last year was 107,600.
107 instead of 113.
Yeah, that was the total last year. I don't know the other numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question, with solid waste, you've got an income stream through the selling of the stickers.
Mm-hmm.
And what this doesn't show here is the net.
The revenue?
Yeah, the net of the transfer station operations,
Yeah.
which is really the realistic way to look at it from the budget perspective, rather than just what the expenses are.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we go on to the next, I think we all wanna see what the net cost is rather than just
The request.
what the expenses are,
Yeah,
all right?
okay.
There is that,
Go to
another
the
page
next
here.
page.
Yeah, there's a revenue page.
Oh.
I didn't add it up, what the net cost would be.
I didn't get a regular page
Oh.
on mine.
Right, but your costs are higher than hundred
Yes, you
and
do.
13, like you expect your costs will be higher than 113
Yes.
next year.
No, that's approximately what I expect next year's operating costs
I
will
see.
be.
And so then you'll offset that cost by whatever you sell in stickers, and the rest will need to be raised with
Right.
taxes.
Mhm.
So then that difference is, I'm guessing, about $60,000
Thanks, let's
Mhm.
see.
in 2023, because the projected revenue is 45,
Yeah,
and you said 107 was the.
107 was the operating cost, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually close to 50%, sometimes 55,
Yeah.
never higher usually.
All right, now the other item that I come out with questioning is, at one point, we only were open Sunday morning, then we opened Wednesday afternoons, basically. And the only way you can save big bucks is by reducing services, in reality. And I don't know how much money we would save if we were just open basically the 1 half day a week instead of 2 half days a week. And I think that would be something interesting to look at. I think the public would scream and probably would put it back in the budget like they did, what we did with the school budget last year. But I think it's worth at least getting a handle on what that might be in terms of a cost saving.
So you're talking about getting rid of Wednesdays, that's what you would
Well,
say?
either one, I mean, they're 2 half days.
Well, no, Wednesday is much shorter than a shorter work.
Yeah,
day.
Wednesday's
Sunday
4
is.
hours. 4 hours.
Yeah, all right, getting rid of Wednesday, how much money would we save?
Mm-hmm.
Now granted, there's gonna be a price to pay in terms of some unhappy people in town, but when you're looking at ways to save money, it usually comes down to giving up a service.
Yeah, but how much money are you really saving?
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we don't
I
know.
don't know.
Well, not that much if payroll, which is where you're gonna save the money,
The only
is
place you're gonna save the money is
$41,000.
Well, you may get some
Saving
people that
20,
are upset and
maybe.
then hire the guy in Orford there to pick up their trash rather than.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but Matt's.
Personally,
All right, James?
It really only affects your part-time.
Do you have an idea of, like, how many people, go on a particular day?
I do. I was keeping track, at one point, we were getting 200 cars roughly on Wednesdays, and anywhere from 3 to 350 on Sundays. Sometimes more, depends on the season. Summertime, we get more on Wednesday and Sunday. But it's pretty close in the, 2 to 300 range on Wednesdays and 300 on Sundays easily.
Now, if you look
Thank
at the
you.
top of this, Matt figured out the difference between a $3 sticker price and a $4 sticker price. So you could increase the revenue to almost 60,000,
I don't have that page.
roughly.
have you
Yeah, I got-
ever operated
Um,
without stickers? I'm curious.
Oh, yes.
Did you have more garbage?
Oh, I haven't, since I've been there, we've always had a pay-as-you-throw program.
Right.
So I haven't actually worked under not having the pay-as-you-throw.
My assumption honestly has always been the stickers is an effort to reduce waste, right?
Yeah,
Maybe a person makes the choice to compost because they don't wanna spend the money on the stickers and put the garbage in the garbage, right, in the landfill.
More
I don't know if that's
recycle.
happening or not, but like honestly, personally, I would prefer to integrate all of this stuff in the budget and get rid of the stickers altogether. I find the stickers annoying.
To have no revenue at all coming in?
People would pay their taxes and just on their garbage. Look, I'm paying like $16,000-$17,000 a year and also I have to go, remember to go to the hardware store to get these stupid
Or
stickers,
the
to
country
put on a 13-gallon bag because I live in a house with me and a 10-year-old 50% of the time. But in the summer, I can't let the garbage sit around because I have to keep it in my garage, because if I put it outside, the raccoons and bears will get into it. I don't know, I'm just saying, at some point, you're paying relatively high tax rate, and I'm a person that would like a service. No potholes, and I'm happy, I get why I'm not asking for somebody to come pick my garbage up. I'll bring it, I'm okay with that. By the time I get to the bottom of my driveway, I might as well bring it anyway.
I do have a question related to this though, because one of the, and you might actually probably not know this answer, but right, there is a philosophy that says if you make people pay for trash, there's more likelihood of dumping that happens, where they just toss it into the woods, right? Have we?
yeah.
We
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen that in this community.
No.
We have seen roadside dumping, but I don't think it's not like,
Delivery.
yeah, it's,
It's refrigerators.
So it's-
and before we had hazardous waste collections and stuff like that, people were,
Yeah.
we accept bulbs and stuff for free so that stuff's not dumped. But the pay-as-you-throw program was kind of introduced with NRRA. And like, the thought behind it was to reduce people from throwing recyclables in their trash. Everyone pays their fair share, you know, like if you have 10 bags and this person's only doing one. It's also a revenue. So like, there was a lot of incentives, and that's why like throughout New Hampshire and other states, they started doing the pay-as-you-throw program in the first place. But as far as dumping, I mean, I do work with the highway, and I think it's pretty nice in Lyme. I mean, and generally in Lyme, we have a lot of good residents, so I don't see that happening in this town at least, but.
We were worried about it, and we didn't see the dumping along the road when we initiated it. Bill?
Since I do about a mile of Baker Hill Road, I can tell you that 99% of it is beer team.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, cleanup day, how many bags do you get for cleanup day?
A lot.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah, several hundred.
But, right, but the beer cans.
The beer cans
They're
are,
not, kids are not taking them home.
Right.
yeah.
I think it's commuters, but
Right.
they're probably all Vermonters.
So
Nice.
I have a question, which is on the recycling, since we're paying more per ton for that.
Yeah.
Do we know what's actually happening to it once
So-
Cassell takes it?
What Casella has showed us, and Tim and Suzanne actually did a tour, in Rutland, they have a material sorting facility. A lot of people have this myth that they're throwing it all away. They've got a multi-million-dollar, sorting facility set up to sort through this stuff. So I highly doubt they would invest all that money into that infrastructure and then throw it all away. So what they do is they truck it to White River, they get a big truckload, and then they bring it over to the facility in Rutland, which I still would like to do a tour of. And then it goes through all different conveyors, separates everything out. Then they put it to market, and a lot of the time they stockpile or wait until they get the best value for the dollar. We do see a small amount in our recycling fees. I'd like to see it bigger, but I think it's just the markets right now, they're not
Right.
great, yeah.
Yeah, what I was wondering is if we're, by charging per
It's not
bag of
just
trash,
going into the
we're
dump.
getting people to put more weight, more mass into the recycling, and if it's not ending up any different, then that
Yeah, I mean, that
doesn't seem
could
like
be,
a good idea.
yeah.
So I think to your point, if
Thanks.
we knew, should I raise my
Yeah.
hand?
No, stop!
If near 100% of people use the services, then really there's no benefit to having the tags.
We just, yeah, although a person would potentially argue, hey, it's not fair that that house with 8 people is paying the same. I mean, I guess maybe that house with 8 people would be a bigger house and would be assessed at a higher value. I mean, there's a lot like to, but that I think would be in,
But that
that
type
would,
of argument can go to like the same with the school, like I don't
Totally.
have kids in the school.
exactly,
And I'm paying
exactly.
a lot, right?
yeah.
And I know some people still take their recycling to Lebanon
Yeah.
because they feel better about what they're doing with their recyclables there.
Well, the whole changes in the Lebanon dump are gonna be interesting if they have impact on us, because there are people that take stuff to Lebanon. The other thing I would say is, most communities now have gone to a paper throw type system. If we went the other way, we would be way out in left field compared to the other communities. And they found that it generally does increase the percentage that's recycled. And it does reduce the total tonnage.
Yeah.
Which are both good things, I think.
Another question, Dick.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have any idea of the difference in total cost between the zero sort and having going back to the recycling bins like we used to have?
I don't actually. I'd have to go back through our old budgets and get some numbers configured, but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, obviously, we're paying Casella to do the sorting, whereas if we did it on our own beforehand,
yeah.
what would that do in terms of reducing the cost of disposal, net cost of disposal?
I'm not sure, I know that would probably be more labor intensive. helping people with the bins, and then the trucking costs
Yep.
are gonna be a lot. I know when we did have the bins, we had to pack them down and make sure that they were full when we shipped them out, because, I think the trucking costs now are gonna be over $300 a haul. And I can't tell you how often we were shipping those bins, but like the ones we have now, we do, every 2 weeks, we pull both bins, so.
Some of the plastics we were doing twice a week at one point in time.
Yeah,
Do you have any sense of that information, Dan?
We'd have to look at.
yeah, we have to
Is
go
that
back
something
through
that
it.
you could,
Oh, yeah,
you
we
could
can
get,
go-
and
yeah.
so we
Yeah.
can look at that again
Absolutely.
before we
Mhm.
talk
Yeah.
about this again? That would be great.
Jim?
When we did sort them, where did the plastics go? Did they go to the same place?
So from what it was CM Witcher that we were working with at the time, and I guess they brought it to Mount Carberry landfill, which is also a transfer station. From there, I don't know where they were bringing all the plastics. They didn't really have the information that Casella's given me. I'm not sure where, I know we were getting some market out of it, but I'm really not sure where they were.
Yeah,
Where
I
they
just
bring it.
wonder, I mean, that's another factor, because the zero sort, they take everything, right?
Yeah,
All
well,
plastics.
Yeah,
And
well,
then-
most
And then they
plastics.
deal with it, right?
Yeah,
Whereas like at Lebanon, there's only, you know.
yeah, they
there's-
don't take
There's one
clamshell
and two,
plastic.
and that's it,
Pretty
basically.
much, yeah.
Yeah, well, and those are the most valuable plastics.
Right, so they
but I don't-
decided not to deal with the other.
Yeah, those are the most marketable. From what Casella's told us, the other plastics, they'll stockpile them and wait for a market to open up, even black plastics, but they don't want it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, they'll take all the plastics, but they want clean, yeah, they want clean product.
Yeah, and we had a problem with it being the public.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cross-contamination, because the public wasn't very good at sorting.
They also might not wanna put things in the.
Whereas if you're a private
'Cause they have to
company, you
pay
can
for it.
just dictate. One goes here, two goes here,
Yeah.
five goes here. We can't enforce that realistically. And the people that dump everything in the closest bin. Yes,
I don't like. Get it
and some things are economical to recycle, like aluminum.
out.
So you said, reducing services is one way to reduce costs, and do we have to do an RFP for this service every year? With Casella, are there other options? I mean, this is like a low-cost budget item overall, but I think it's important to the town, and so that's why I think there's so much conversation right now being generated. And there's, I remember, a listserv conversation about Casella and where everything was going, and some skepticism about it all. So do we do RFPs for waste removal? And if not, why not?
Is there realistically any,
Well, I was
Other
just gonna
bidders.
say, I don't think we have another option.
Yeah,
That's why we don't put it out to bid.
does Worcester still do it?
not for us. Too far away.
And there's private haulers, but there's no company that could handle
Yeah.
what we have.
At least it isn't the mob, or maybe it is.
Well, the other thing I was gonna
New
say is I
Hampshire,
think,
the New
no
Hampshire,
matter,
they deal in merino
this is
wool.
being filmed, is that no matter what company you're working with, there's always questions about
Mhm.
where it's going and if it's really going where they're saying it is. I mean, we hear that all the time.
Yeah.
At least we're not doing with biologics. That's an issue.
Inexpensive endeavor.
Yeah. Any other questions about our solid waste procedures? Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. Thank you, Matt. Have a good evening.
I'm not, you're up next. Here, Mark.
All right, now we're getting the locals.
I'm gonna come up where I can see you all. Hello.
know Judy?
Yes.
Do you know everybody or?
I think I do, yeah.
Yeah, no. All right, there is something a little different with the library budget than the other ones. Without getting too much into it, the library trustees have basically the authority over the library that the Board of Selectmen would have over the rest of the budget. So, and we haven't tried to explain this to the public, but, so basically, the library trustees' budget is the one that theoretically goes to the budget committee rather than the selectmen's budget. We've been many arguments about this over the years, but let's try to keep it that way.
Right, well, that's according to the RSA's and
Yeah, well,
designed to protect.
there are people that don't believe it.
Don't believe that that's true, or
Yeah.
don't believe, yeah, well,
So, just so we know that, at least from our perspective here as a budget committee, that's the way we have to operate with the library. We'll try to follow the law. All right,
So-
Judy, it's your floor.
Okay, yeah, well, I see that Dina shared with you the notes that I had prepared, so everything is pretty well explained there. So I can just really start by asking any questions, and I guess maybe what Dick didn't say that I would add is that in terms of line items, the trustees will make those decisions and vote on them, but the bottom line is something that the budget committee can respond to, right?
Let me just throw out a bottom line comment.
Okay,
I always operate under what the COLA is for Social Security is
Right.
the goal.
right,
That's 3.2% this
right,
year.
right.
The bottom line of what I got in front of me right now is 4.84.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. When I first made this up, I was 1.8, I think, and then I heard the tragic news from Dina that benefits were estimated at about 15.6% increase. And so I factored that in, just with a guesstimate, and that's when it jumped up. I actually went back and carved some things out to keep it under 5. So,
Notice I said it was a goal.
yeah, yeah. It was my goal too.
So you wanna go over the big items that are driving it? I think that's,
Sure. Apart from wages, the way wages work at the library is that I recommend the staff increases and the trustees decide on my increases. I can speak to why the increase is so large for mine this year, but I also would, let you know that you can speak with Deb Robinson, who's our treasurer, or Melanie Isett, who's our chair, who happens to be out of the country at the moment. But so some of you who've been on the committee for a while might remember that my previous board that was led by Audrey Brown had been working to increase my salary so that it was in alignment with similar Upper Valley libraries and library directors. And when they achieved that, it was some cause for celebration, but then there was a moment where they said, oh, we had numbers attached to that, but we never actually incorporated the COLA. We never incorporated increases in cost of living, we just used these flat numbers all the way going up. So I think that was part of the thinking here. I think they also just were considering merit. So that's why that stands the way it does right now, but again, you can speak directly with the trustees. I was working with this 3.2, which I think was the September number for COLA. And on top of that, we added small merit increases to that for our staff that does an awful lot of work for not a whole lot of money and in a short period of time. But you'll see that actually the library clerk comes in less overall than last year, and that's because with the current staff member in that position, Her availability is not as great as I would like, but I'm very happy with her performance and her presence at the library. So I decided to shave 2 hours a week off of that position for the time being. And that's why that's a little bit lower. Janitorial is coming in a little bit lower. We just over budgeted last year because we weren't sure. It was sort of a crisis that was happening during budget season, trying to find a new cleaning service. So now it's more accurate, I think. So I'm hoping, we have, as I'm sure you've read, we have new solar panels on the roof of the library, thanks to the Energy Committee's efforts and the fire department's inability to have them. We were their loss was our gain. As I mentioned, I could have made an even greater cut there, but I was just trying to be conservative, so I just took 40% off of the electricity costs. The panels are up, but we, like many other people, are waiting around for Eversource to show up to put in the new meter, so that we haven't flipped the switch on them yet. I'm hoping that by the end of '23, that switch will be flipped. So that could be more. Heat is anybody's guess. I'm just going in there with 5,000. Water's pretty predictable, as are the next ones. So the building repairs and maintenance, again, if you've been serving on the budget committee for a while, you might know that we tend to go up and down with a couple of lines in the budget, and this is one of them, depending on what's coming up. And one large infrastructure type project that we have is a need to repair the steps that lead to the portico and the original front entry. They had been receiving this skim coat of cement over the years to just sort of protect the upper layer. They're originally cement. Back in 1936, cement was really hot. I've realized it was like a major design element. Everything that you see on the library that you think might be granite is actually cement, like little design elements. But so it was just what was cool back then, I guess. At any rate, this thing gets a lot of use, and it has now degraded to such a point that we need to come up with something more than just this Band-Aid that we have been using every couple of years of the skim coat. And we've gotten a few estimates, and they've all been over $15,000. And we're looking for something that's really gonna last, and maybe a brick layer on the outside of it. At any rate, it's not something that we would put to the town unless it were in a warrant article as a full project. We tend to raise our own money for these kinds of projects. I had hoped that by getting an additional $5,000 this year that was written into the budget, that would help me as I went to the Lyme Foundation and other grantors to say that the town has raised this much, and let's see what else we can raise to get this done. So that's why I don't expect that will be that same amount in 2024. What else? Some of the materials have remained flat. We have started just this year, the reason that we was able to keep the books line flat is that we're now sharing some costs with the school for the online catalog that we use in the circulation system, the integrated library system, if you will. And so they are now covering 1/3 of the tech support costs that we pay every year. And I think that I'm inaccurate. Let's see, I have to find the line again. Mostly don't, okay, and then if you go down to cataloging and processing, that's where it is. I'm sorry, I put books in, I was talking about the wrong line. Let's go down to cataloging and processing. That Bywater, that's our tech support. So that's where the school is coming in. And then it says plus $500 for supplies. And I was told yesterday that was cut from the school budget. So luckily I didn't change that amount that's within that line that I was going to reduce by $500. I don't know, I must have had a premonition. But, so that's coming in a little bit less than last year, but since the supply thing got cut from the other budget, I just don't know where it's gonna end up. So I might have been wiser to bump it up a little bit more, but that was before I knew. And then if I go back up to books, I will say again that, we're now including, this is since last year, we're including the cost of our online services. So if you use Libby through the library, we pay for that out of this books line now. It used to be covered by the Friends of Lyme Library, but since we now see it, I see it as an intrinsic part of the collection and something that many, many people use. I feel that it should be part of what is covered by the town. But at the same time, you know, books are not, physical books are not in as great use. I don't wanna say that people aren't borrowing, because they're borrowing by the thousands, but we are reducing the number of books that we buy by a small amount, and just observing and standing back, we're definitely reducing the amount of audios on CD and DVDs that we purchase. Those also are still going out. The audios are really going down because nobody has a CD player in their car anymore, and let's face it, Libby is a better alternative anyway. So that cost is still going down, and it's actually wrapped into the books thing. The audio part is wrapped into that books line. Video is a more interesting one because we have Canopy streaming services that the Friends also used to pay for, but now that's into the video line as well. But DVDs are still going out. They're still going out, not at the same rate, but they're still going out. So these are just, you know, kind of wait and watch as formats become obsolete. I was just at a conference in Peterborough today with the theme of unplanned obsolescence. And what do you do with all of the former formats that suddenly become unusable because there's no more machinery to operate them? Which is another reason why we're building up our library of things, if you saw that email last week on the listserv.
What do you do with your 5 1/4 floppy disks?
Yeah, exactly, we talked about them quite a bit today. And then the computer line is another one of those that sometimes goes up higher than that, but I don't anticipate any great expense. We do use that line for our toner, which is our greatest expense right now. Printing is a big thing at the library, people coming in to print stuff, we're like, print.
I'm trying to sort of summarize rather than going into the lines. And what I look at are the things in your discussion that amount to significant dollar change. Your wages.
Yep.
Which part of it is COLA, part of it is a merit raise.
Yep.
Benefits, and then the other was that $5,000 chunk on the front steps.
Yep.
And then if we sort of ignore those three, we're basically in a stand-pat budget or pretty close to it.
If not less, because of
Yeah.
electricity and heat and,
So my impression is fairly accurate of what's going on there in terms of increased expenses.
yes, I agree. And the wages would be a permanent increase, and the $5,000 is a
One-timer. Do we have questions for Judy?
Yes.
Thanks.
Does your the supply, the line item, I guess, the 2,000, the copying, does that include your bodacious, costs, or the revenue? For those?
No, the revenue we accept as petty cash. There's a warrant article that was passed, that's sort of a permanent warrant that was passed several years ago that said that we were allowed to bring in that revenue and then spend it without having to bring it to we used to have to bring it to the town and report it every year, and then we would get permission to spend it. So now we have that cash. It amounts to several $100s a year, and we use a good chunk of it for service contracts with WB Mason for the copier and that sort of thing. So, and then it goes toward postage and other stuff that get reported in petty cash reports. So there is revenue, and it does get reported in the town report on our page where the trustees, report their funds, their revenue and spending, which is separate from this budget.
And you say that's several $100s
Yeah,
a year?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
In other words, small change.
Right.
Small change, yeah, 15 cents for black and white and 25 cents for a colored copy, and then,
25 for color?
20,
I'm coming down
25,
here.
yeah, prices haven't gone up in a while, and, we charge for some faxes, we fax a lot too, you wouldn't believe it, yeah. Yeah, so, a lot of people, I've noticed more and more lately, a lot of people will overpay for their, I just pocket that. Put that in.
But I mean, it's still,
What's your tip?
it's still petty cash, it's not.
It's still petty cash,
Good.
definitely, yep.
Any other questions?
Where does the blisters money go from all the, I chase my kids around through.
It's at the school
That's
now.
that stays at the school?
It didn't.
Well, it always has.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
But it
no,
was-
it's,
was
sorry,
it
I thought
used-
you were saying it stays a lot, no, it's
Yeah.
library money.
It's not really
It's
money.
Friends, it's not.
No, it's not Friends, it's ours. It's another warrant article that was passed a while back. We used to have a separate fund for it. And then, we would, submit the bills to Dina in the way that we submit the bills that are covered by all these other line items. And we decided to, because it's an in and out thing, we decided that it would stay within the trustees' coffers and then we would pay for it. So that money, which can be anywhere from $3,500 to, on a really good year, the year after COVID, when people were very generous, to $12,000. But it averages around 5,000. Goes directly toward children's materials, primarily books, but also other materials like reference works and.
But in the library here.
But,
Yeah.
so,
They kinda go
but,
back and forth.
yeah, so it's
They're
the,
shared with the school.
right, so so I do the collection development primarily, although that's changing right now. And so I will make those selections, but they get used by both the school and the public library.
There's certain things you don't wanna ask too many questions about. There's the old, if it works, don't fix it.
And it, again, all that money gets reported in the town report annually. We've raised, as of a couple of hours ago, I think we've raised about $2,300 so far this year. I don't know if it's slow coming in or it's just gonna be a down year, so.
Who knows? Any other questions? Thank you, Judy.
Okay, well, if you have any others, you know where to find me. 18 to 20 hours a day.
Theoretically, we have Parks and Recreation. Is that gonna be you this year, Dina?
I think so. Try to answer any questions you have. Sure. See, we save money too, I do their books.
Yes, and I usually start with that by expressing my gratitude to Dina for all of the help that she gives me.
You're welcome.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, I finished writing, so now I can. Yeah, so I will do this. I will review it, I will answer whatever I can. I don't know that there's a whole lot to review, other than I will tell you that the telephone line is incorrect. It should be $380. It's $40 a month, not,
Is that payphone?
yes,
Do we need it?
yes,
I mean, I'm not arguing about the money.
yes. we
I mean,
do.
I'll tell you, my daughter makes me give her a quarter or 50 cents or something every time we go to the pond so she can call my phone.
Good.
They think it's hysterical.
I'm sure.
It's
Yes.
probably
They
one of the few
randomly, they go
payphones
up
left
and
anywhere.
randomly call people if they're out live
It
and say,
is,
hey,
and
I'm at the pond.
And it's a deal, actually, a separate company owns it now, the regular phone company doesn't own it, they were extremely expensive before with this company. They just went up for the first time in like 6 years, $5.
You've got 540 as a
I just said
telephone
it should
line.
be $380.
That's funny.
And yeah, if somebody's out there without a cell phone, we want them to be able to call 911. So, and you don't need 50 cents to call 911, you can just call 911. Yeah, don't tell your
Eleanor.
kids that. Don't tell your kids that.
Well, that was the big driver why we had to keep something out there, was
And that-
because of the
Right, and
911
even
issue.
winter time, we have a lot of ice fishermen out there, and it's just nice to have something there in case they need it. So everything is, staying reasonably the same. The plan this year, the rec commission is 100% behind. We're still actively looking for lifeguards. Lifeguards are hard to come by, not just in Lyme, but everywhere. We've talked to, every aquatic place around that has lifeguards, and they're all short. And last year they were short. And Storrs Pond was closing early because they didn't have enough lifeguards. So that's a problem, and we will keep working on that. We actually were hoping at one point, and I don't know if it will work out this next year, we'll have to see, that we could, if we can't do or don't get the chance to do the pond program, but that we can at least get the selectmen to approve hiring some
Swimming
some
instructor.
individuals to come out as swimming instructors and teach swimming lessons. But again, those are really hard to find. So, I know, it's really, it's disheartening, actually. So, anyways, and I don't think there's anything else new there. If the pond program pops in again, that would be great. We can work the lessons with that.
That's a zero lesson in and out program, pretty much.
It's generally an in and out, yeah. I mean, you have it on here, usually the revenue comes in on the other side to help with that at least. But it depends on how many kids and that kind of stuff, yes. Oh. I'm
Any
not
question
supposed to
about
call
Parks and Rec?
I have a question.
Bill has one.
Can you provide an update on how the ski program works now?
Oh, with the rec commission?
I don't know.
Because that's not, the rec commission, that's not the town. The town, in this budget, there's no money for, youth sports. The rec commission handles all of that. So the money goes into the revolving fund and comes out of the revolving fund. We have, a commissioner for each sport that works with Steve, the rec director. And we get some volunteers, not very many, but some volunteers to teach, as you know. Otherwise, we hire at the Dartmouth Skiway to ski, and they get bussed out there and.
So each after-school program, recreation program is separate now from,
We have baseball, we have soccer, we have rugby, we have skiing, we have lacrosse. What am I missing, guys?
Basketball.
We have basketball, we have adult foosball, we have pickleball, we have a lot of,
and all of this is, you say is handled how now, not by the rec committee?
yes, by the rec commission, it's a commission now.
Oh, okay.
So that they can have a revolving fund, so fees that are paid by the families or individuals goes into this revolving fund, and the money is used to support those funds by equipment and uniforms and things like that.
And then how is that accounted for, how is that reported back, or is it not?
It's reported in the town report every year.
Mhm.
Yep, the bills come into the town, they get approved, I pay them, everything gets put on a spreadsheet.
Mhm, okay.
Yep.
So we can see it sport by sport, the participants and all that? Or-
No, in the town report, it's usually just ins and outs, it's a quick little report, but I am happy to get down and dirty if you wanna see.
I would be,
Yeah.
well,
I have monthly reports that the rec director does,
Yeah.
so
I'm-
you're welcome to look
right,
at
not so
those.
much questioning, just more curious about
Yeah.
how that's working, because
Right.
it's, I would say, pretty low profile in terms of, how that information, it appears once, and there's really not much discussion at the town report level,
Right.
how that's working or not working, and so.
Mhm.
And I know for a long time, if I remember correctly, we weren't getting any minutes from the recreation committee about what they were or weren't doing.
Yeah, minutes are a challenge for the rec commission unless Dina writes them. Dina doesn't always have time to write them.
Especially if you're not there.
We have, yeah, it does, makes it difficult, yes, you're right.
So I'm asking you about oversight
Yeah.
indirectly.
Right.
How is this
Yeah.
really working, and
Yeah.
is it working?
Well, I think that it would behoove you to see some of the monthly reports that the rec commission gets,
Mhm.
and that's what we review and we go over, and it
Yeah.
helps us,
Yeah.
decide what we're going to, charge for fees. We go up, we go down, our goal is to not make a lot of money. Each sport we want to break even on, and if we find that we've made a lot of, or a bunch of extra, we go down the next year, or, you know, so.
And largely, this is also a reflection of past experience trying to, I wouldn't use the word manage, because that implies something, but handle the ski program
Right,
in two different time periods, and never worked.
yeah,
And I'm just curious if we're doing any better. That's just one sport I'm particularly
Right.
interested in. but
right.
It would apply to other sports as well, just to see how we're doing.
Yeah, no, I'm happy, I have all the monthly reports
Yeah.
electronically, I can send them out if you guys wanna
This
see
really
them.
is, because it doesn't ever come before us in a
Yeah.
budget setting.
Right.
I mean, this is really more personal curiosity
Okay.
than it is a budget thing.
So I'll send them to you,
All right, I mean, or I can stop by and read them, and then you don't have to.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
that's
let's
fine.
do that.
I
James?
have a personal curiosity question, about the, fees for the rec, like the sports and stuff.
Yep,
There are scholarships available?
Yes.
For, okay, so are there, are there any given,
oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and each monthly report says how many,
Okay.
there's never any names
No,
mentioned.
no, yeah,
And
no, I
not
was
every
curious.
sport, almost every sport has at least one scholarship. if
My,
not
my
more.
concern is just that it's
Requested.
not something that
Yep.
people, keeps people from participating. because
Yeah,
of those
no,
fees.
no, we work very hard to, yeah.
Right.
Even internally, they'll get like cleats and shin guards and things that the kids need, like, I think, I've helped Katie find stuff, I think
Right.
they always manage to find stuff to make
Yeah.
sure all the
Yeah.
kids can participate. Skiing is
Right.
the same
And we
way,
have
although I'm not sure
places-
the participation
we have-
level's the same with skiing.
We have places that we can go and utilize if we know, let's say a kid wants to ski.
Yeah.
And they can't afford to rent the equipment, we can make sure they get it, yeah.
Even like the
Yeah.
Jenks Fund would cover, Patty has said the Jenks Fund would cover if we didn't have the gear, that we could go to state, we could go get gear for someone.
And Lyme
they
is a
would pay
small
for it.
town,
Yeah.
so, we kind of feel it out, and
Yeah.
somebody makes a phone call, and we say, do you want us to get you some cleats and socks? And the
Yeah.
answer's yes or no,
Right.
but,
Well, I know at one point, just before I get to you, Hayes, because we, DRA looked at how we were spending that when we originally set that fund up, because we were using some sports to subsidize other sports. And DRA in Concord was a little upset at that. Told us we weren't really supposed to do that. So it did get looked at years ago, that was back when I was a selectman.
it was a long time ago, yeah.
And,
So how did you resolve that?
we resolved it by trying to make each sport semi-autonomous,
Right,
rather than using everything else to subsidize the ski program that was the most expensive.
well, basketball's the most expensive, believe it or not, geez
Well,
Louise.
Now, because of the referees pay, but
Yeah, it's crazy,
once upon a time we had volunteer referees.
yeah, that's very true.
Saints, I believe you had a,
So, with the commissioner, where does his budget, his salary come from what budget? Does it come from revenue?
The commissioners don't
sports?
get paid, the commissioners are volunteers. If you're talking about Steve, the director,
Director.
yeah, that comes out of here.
that's
right
on
there,
this
Oh,
budget.
thank you.
Right there, Yep. That's his part-time 40, I forget how many weeks it is a year, like averages. I can't remember
We get away
exactly how we
cheap
figured it,
compared
but
to other towns.
one week it's 30 hours, the next week it's 2, or, summer weeks it's no hours, so,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks, sorry, I missed
Yeah,
that.
no,
But I did
that's
have another
okay.
question actually related to the page in front of us.
Yeah.
Who sets the hourly wage for the lifeguards?
The select,
Okay, right, 'cause there was a conversation about that. I'm coming to this committee knowing a lot based on listserv conversations. Right,
Sorry.
and so,
I don't need to say.
I mean, it's positive and negative, right? That there were thoughts that they weren't being paid, that we weren't offering enough per hour to fill the spots,
Right.
so.
Right, and I can honestly tell you that our problem getting lifeguards for the last however many years is not because we're not paying enough. It's because there are no lifeguards. We also used to have a theater program. When you have the pond program, you know, you can get your volunteer kids, they come, they help with the pond program, they get interested, you know, they help with swimming lessons just to be there to help. Then they actually wanna be a lifeguard, so we used to have somebody that trained them to be lifeguards, so they could get certified, and then they would work for us, and, you know, it was like this great thing, but that's gone now. So, and even if we get somebody to do the pond program, I would find it hard to believe that that person will be qualified to give swimming lessons and qualified to train lifeguards. So, doesn't mean we can't do it.
Well, there are a lot of people that once upon a time have a WSI and don't anymore.
That's right.
Oh, what?
I'm one of them, WSI
Oh.
teacher.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. And I used to
100 years
train, I
ago.
used to train the lifeguards, I
Yeah.
used to give swimming lessons, it was,
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna do in my retirement.
I mean, it got to be the bureaucracy and the liability issues that you face as a volunteer doing things like that drove a lot of people out of it.
Well, personally, I can't tell you how crazy it makes me that we don't have lifeguards out there. It just makes me crazy.
How many years has it been without lifeguards?
But, you know, you talk to other places who have made the same, or made a conscious decision actually to not have lifeguards because of whatever reason, they couldn't get enough, or because of the liability, or because of, you know, whatever, swim at your own risk and all that stuff. But I just personally, and I know the rec commission feels that they would much rather have lifeguards out there. Now, if we're gonna have lifeguards out there, we really need somebody that's gonna oversee the lifeguards too. So, you know, then you're adding that person on, you gotta find somebody to do that, which we hadn't been able to find either, so. It's like a
Well,
snowball effect.
I mean, a lot of people got driven out because of the liability issues. And I mean, the classics is this person that's suing Loon Mountain Resorts because when they were tubing on the Pemigewasset, there were no brakes on the tube, and she crashed into some rocks. And she's suing them because there weren't brakes on the tube.
Well, everything's a liability now, but you have to make sure that you're making the effort to
Come
make
on.
it as safe as possible, so.
But that's what you're facing, and
yeah,
people said the
it's
hell
very
with it.
hard, very hard. People also don't like rules, and when you have certain rules out there and you have lifeguards that are out there trying to enforce them, it ends up being very challenging, very challenging.
I think the conversations I've heard too, though, is what if something happens to someone out there, and then we'll really wanna push for lifeguards or do what we, I mean, I guess everything's being done at the
It
moment.
is sad, it is
The
sad.
problem is if you have unqualified lifeguards, you're even more liable than if you have none at all.
Well, if you have lifeguards out there, right, that aren't supported and aren't qualified and don't have experience, that's the other thing. You know, it's very, I think it's, you can, no, you can't even hire the kids to be lifeguards now, but yeah, it's difficult, it's very difficult, and I hope that we can get it back to it, but nobody wants to be a lifeguard anymore, I know. Yeah, it's sad, it's a stressful job, it really is. So,
then last year, the $21,500, say, the post-pond coordinator salary and the lifeguard wages,
Mhm.
where, does that money just go to surplus, or do you spend it on something else?
well, it just depends, if it's left in the, no,
Yeah.
you know, we'll run around and try to spend something else in this budget, but, yes, at the end of the year, we'll go, whatever's left in the overall budget will go to surplus.
And the selectmen can move things between the individual accounts.
Right. I mean, I think the lifeguard wages, you know, the selectmen had taken them out, and then they got put back in by
Town meeting.
town meeting, right? So they
Yes, I remember.
left them there, but they haven't done this. Of course, the selectmen haven't looked at the budget this year, so
Mhm.
they'll come back to you guys with theirs, so I don't know what they'll do, but,
Yeah. The pond coordinator salary, what is that for 2 weeks, 35, is that what it is?
well, it depends. it can be, we've had a 2-week program, we've had a 3-week program, we've had a 4-week program.
So would
It
that,
just
would you expect
depends
that to
on-
be a what, the salary, is that 1 week, 2 weeks, or?
I would say
$3,500, you know?
$3,500, depending on what their qualifications are and what they're gonna do, and whether it includes swimming lessons or not. Could be a 2 or 3-week program.
They pay,
It's
how are they hired? Are they
it's
hired as
hired.
like a,
It's a 2.5, 3-hour program, or it had been. I mean, if you're talking about revamping the whole program, well, you know, there's a whole lot of
Yeah.
different things that could happen there.
I've just heard the same argument from people about the pond program. The rationale there is, it's not enough money to make it worth the while of the woman who was doing it. She makes more money taking people's kids privately to the pond, right? And, right, cause you need childcare basically, so that people are just hiring her and she's taking them to the pond.
Well, I can't
All
answer that,
summer
and I
long.
won't answer that.
Right, but
Um,
yeah, that
but-
just seems like even for 3 hours a day, right, because how is that person then hired 1099, is that a contract? Like, they have to pay all the taxes,
They get paid through our payroll, so the taxes come out.
so then they
But
just have to
again,
pay the
here's the other
7.5.
scoop, is that if somebody would come that's interested in doing this program and wants to present something new and different, even at a different budget amount, that's exactly what the person should do. I think that the rec commission would look favorably at somebody that would come to them with a new idea, a new program, a new.
Right, but then is there gonna be an issue for that person because there aren't lifeguards? Can they run a pond, can they be in charge of the pond program and be and have that be insured? Cause you're gonna have now some number of children and one,
That would be a
presumably one
problem.
adult, that,
We would have
Does
to have
sound
somebody
awesome,
who
yeah.
was a lifeguard out there, or that person would have to be a lifeguard. And that person could only have so many children if they're gonna be out
Right.
at the pond, and so there's a lot to it, like I said.
I just wonder how many years it's been without these.
Been a good number.
These,
I'd have to look back,
I
the
think-
pond program the last year we had the pond program was, I don't know, I can't even guess.
I know you had it
I'd
in
guess 6.
2017, cause I chose, cause Eleanor didn't go, but I know that was like an option. I
Yeah.
can't say,
I was
I
gonna say, I
can't
was
say
gonna
beyond
guess 6
that.
years, but 5 or 6
But,
years.
I don't know, the other thing I don't see here, and I'm not sure if this would be Chase Beach, but, the vegetation, it seems like it's getting pretty overgrown. And so where would something like trimming?
What kind of vegetation are you talking
Like
about?
on the sides, the bushes, like it
On
used
the-
to be.
On the water's edge?
Yeah, basically, like, you're sitting on the beach and you have the dock here, and there's a bunch of vegetation behind, essentially like behind not behind the tennis courts, but between, where you'll pull to get down to the canoe rack, right?
It's
It's
mowing,
just-
right? Is that not?
Well, I don't know,
mowing?
it's just,
Yeah.
it's very overgrown, I mean, I've only been here for 6 years, it's very overgrown relative to what it looked like a few years ago. And so I don't know if that's something that fell out because of COVID.
We don't generally trim down there near the water. DES is extremely particular about what you do at the water's edge.
What do we spend the mowing contract on?
We spend the mowing
On,
contrast down there.
Down
Oh,
there
yeah,
as
they
well?
do that whole area, the ball field, they do the school, they do the common, they do the Lyme Center Academy building, they do the library, they do the fire station, well, the fire station doesn't have any grass, they don't do there.
What's the grass behind the fire
here.
station?
Oh, they do
Where
that.
the
Yeah,
fourth fire
yeah,
truck's parked?
They would do that.
The big yellow.
Behind the building
They
there.
do all the town.
There's some grass.
What about the
stuff.
cemetery?
They do all the
Cemeteries?
cemeteries, that's right. Yeah, and the contract is split, this is only part of it, the other part of it is in the cemetery budget, so.
So we used to have 2 people full-time in the summer for that.
So, mowing for all the town comes out of the Parks and Rec budget?
No, this handles a percentage of it, then the other percentage is in the cemetery
In the
budget.
cemetery, okay,
Yeah.
but this is the lion's share, this is everything,
Yes,
it's not the
this
cemetery.
is the lion's share,
Okay,
share,
thanks.
which always surprised me that they split it that way, because I think cemeteries are more difficult to mow than anything else.
Yes.
So, but,
Okay.
and then the tree work, we have some trees on the common that need to be attended to, so. We actually may be spending some of that money from left in 23 on them this year too.
We had a warrant article wants to trim the trees on the common.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Tree
trimming
is very
I'm trying to do a few
James?
things this year.
Question. Just back to the mowing,
Yeah.
when we did have a sexton, right,
Yeah.
at one time. Can you figure out, like, is it more expensive to do it the way we're doing it?
I can tell you it's not,
It's not.
yes. Yeah, and because we had a full-time person with benefits and we had a part-time person that worked,
All summer
not
basically.
really part-time, but yeah,
Mhm.
they worked part-time as far as hours, but they worked right all summer long, so
Right.
it was more
So
expensive.
This is better.
Uh-huh, yeah,
But it was more flexible.
and it's
What we paid for it.
contracted,
Yeah, okay,
Right.
yeah.
yeah, it works great, and I hear great things about our mowing company, so,
And that goes out to bid?
yes.
You wanna say something?
No, I don't, I'm very happy with the mowing. No, but I mean, I had the same question as James, right? At some point, like, if we would go back to doing it ourselves, then if you have a summer where the grass does not grow on the common because there's no sunlight or rain, maybe that's when you trim the pond, right, with that person. But perhaps a mowing company can do a similar sort of.
Well, he
service.
also drove a plow truck in the winter, you see, so I mean.
Well, yeah, yeah. But we also have a maintenance person, and we have somebody, it's a full-time employee, but they're part-time, two different things, that goes down there and does 2 things. I think that, I'm not sure what could even be cut because of DES.
We'd have to have someone survey
They don't want,
for the Lyme Foundation.
oh my God, you don't have to have a survey.
You only get away with,
Well,
I
you
didn't
have
know
to
what I
get
was doing
approval
once.
as to what can be cut and how
You
you
just
can
need
cut it at
somebody
the
that
water.
knows, right, what they can and can't do, because you can't do anything within 250 feet of the water without a permit.
Then there's the goose
And you're
creek.
not
Well,
gonna
you
get a
can
straight
do what
answer.
they did in West Lebanon,
Yeah, let's not
just
talk
cut it
about
all
that.
down and then they, oops.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, ask for,
Next
ask
one,
for
Rich Street.
forgiveness, not permission,
Well,
right?
this is when the
That's right.
plow truck slipped off the road.
Yeah,
In the summer.
Training the new guy.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting a little silly. Shall we go on, are we ready to go on briefly to conservation?
Thank you though for asking all the questions, that's great.
Conservation, do we have that here?
Yes.
Oh, no, there's one more page.
It's
Got it,
basically
yeah.
the same as last year.
No, I just said Lake's not
0%.
here. Yeah, they're asking for the exact same.
Are you gonna remember to put the money in the easement monitoring fund this year before we lose it?
What are you talking about?
In
You
conservation,
never lose it, Dick.
we did a couple of times. But anyway. The monitoring fund, $200.
Right, that's done.
We haven't spent it yet.
You have now. This is dated in September, no, it is December, October 4th, but it's been spent.
Anybody have any questions about the conservation budget?
Yeah, actually, that line, I guess that's environmental monitoring, that's what you're talking about?
It says monitoring fund,
Yeah,
Oh,
above it.
okay.
200.
Oh, all right. The other one,
200.
we've spent more
Mhm.
Is that,
than.
is that part of
Yeah, there was some
the
additional-
milfoil?
No. I can't really remember what that is. Hang on.
It almost looks like the
I think it has to do with the
maintenance
Upper
one.
Valley, the Upper Valley Lake something, did something out there additional, I think.
Did it get put in the
I can
wrong
tell you.
line rather than maintenance
No,
and natural
No,
resources?
they knew it was gonna go over,
Just curious.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks as though it's put in the
Oh,
wrong.
it was the kiosk, they built the kiosk out there, that's what that's for, was a little over $1,000.
Should be in the other line than the maintenance.
I put it where the Conservation Commission asked me to put it, Dick. A kiosk, it's about the milfoil. There's a, out at the boat landing, it looks like a big bulletin board with a roof on it.
Sure.
And it educates you
Very
about
nice.
milfoil and all this stuff.
Oh, this is on milfoil,
I
right?
see it, it
It's
was
the
trimmed
uh,
back.
Right,
state
right.
program. No, there's no shrubbery around that. Shrubbery. Shrubbery.
I have a just general question, being a newbie here. Someone said earlier about when the when the selectmen look at the budgets, when does that happen? Like, so we are not voting on anything, at some point, all of this is going to come in front of us again after they've looked at it and finalized numbers, so just what's the process?
All right, this stage that we're going through right now is basically the department's coming in with, I'm gonna use the thing, a wish list. Now, back in my military career where you had a chain of command, this did not exist. The department heads went to their immediate superior, the selectmen, and then the selectmen come to us. We've done this. This is also forcing the department heads to sort of get their act together to give something for the selectmen to work on for their proposal, which will come to us. It also gives us an understanding, because we're not full-time employees, we don't know what's going on in these various departments. So it's our opportunity to ask about what's going on and what things cost, potential ways to save. And all of this sort of is information that feeds into the selectmen for preparing the budget that we actually dissect, for lack of a better way of wording it. Now, the one that does not go through the selectmen is the library. The library trustees come straight to us. It doesn't look that way because the selectmen just stamp what the library trustees ask for, and they usually make an adjustment for the change in the cost of benefits, but that's it. And then we start, hopefully, when do we schedule? It's usually December, just before the school starts to come in,
I think they're.
that we get the first of the selectmen.
I think it's November, Dick, I just.
It's toward the end of November. And then we shift to the school for one meeting before Christmas and then the next few. And then come January is when we get the capital budget from the selectmen, which we haven't seen here yet.
November 8th, you get the select board's budget.
Are they gonna have it this year at that time?
Yes. I hope.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And then we hold the public hearing on the budgets. Now, we theoretically don't vote, we only vote on the bottom line. But if we add or subtract, we identify it. Theoretically, we haven't had, by DRA rules, we don't have to identify it. We can just vote on the total bottom line, but we don't think that's a service to the public if we're cutting a budget, if we don't identify where we differ from the select board or the school board or the library trustees. So we identify where we would make the cuts.
Which department, you mean? Yes.
Yeah. And then we actually have a formal vote to take it to the public hearing. Then we hold the public hearing, and then our final vote on what to recommend or not recommend has to be after the public hearing, or otherwise public hearings are a sham if you've already voted on what you're gonna do.
And can I say, as a department head, I think it's always nice for, especially the department heads that want to, not everybody wants to, but to come and just throw down to you guys what, you know, their feelings are, what their wants are, why they have whatever they have in their budget, and the reasons why it works, or, you know, without, because the selectmen don't always agree, obviously, with what the department head wants, so the department head wants you to hear what they say, so that maybe you'll feel differently than the selectmen, so.
And sometimes we do and sometimes we don't.
Right.
Very often, I think we've been accused of being a rubber stamp too much in the past. I think last year's $200,000 cut to the school budget or whatever it was that was then restored at the school district meeting woke people up that the budget committee actually does look at things. It doesn't rubber stamp.
You guys hadn't taken the 200 out, the school board did. And you
Well, I
agreed,
mean,
you
we
agreed
said
with
it
us,
back
but
to them to take
shifted,
it back.
you shifted the, well,
Yeah. Anyway, they came in with a number from the, and we told them, cut it, and they cut it, what we felt was too much. And we put like 100,000 back in, which
She was
was
on the-
really a
Hayes was
couple
on
of
the school-
hundred thousand
Hayes
less
was on the
than what
school
they
board.
wanted.
Hayes was on the school board last year and she was
Yeah.
in favor
I
of,
remember all.
she was in favor of budget number 1.
Yeah, right, but anyway, we never, if you looked at the report, it didn't look as though the budget committee had chopped the school budget.
Right.
But if you were on the school board, and had been part of the process, you saw the budget committee chop, what, 170,000 off the school budget or something like, somewhere in that number.
At
And
least
because we
supported
forced
that.
them to come back with X%, and then we gave them 100,000 above that X%. And the people that followed it all saw that the budget committee really was trying to cap expenditures, for lack of a better description.
I think they went to the school board.
I mean, I think that's really.
Which is fine.
It's our,
Yeah,
it's our due
yeah.
diligence to be reviewing all of this.
Yeah, that's why we're not the final. The voters are. Do we have anything else we have to do this evening?
So I had two questions. I wanted to follow up on the process. And so at the end, we have a public hearing and then we vote on what goes to, on the warrant for town meeting.
What we recommend,
Our
Or not.
recommendation,
Yeah.
yes, okay.
and it would, and do they set the spreadsheet shows the selectmen's and ours if they're different.
Right.
Correct.
But the warrant article is based on the budget committee's recommended
Yes.
number.
But it
Now-
also has how the vote, what the
And what the
select
vote
board
was for the
recommended
town.
and what it was.
Then the school budget, same way, I believe. The budget committee's vote is shown on the school warrant or not. I don't think it is on the school.
I think it is now.
It is
used-
now.
it used
There was
to
a
not
question
be,
on
but now
on
it is,
whether
I
it
think,
was.
yeah.
Okay.
Now, what you have to realize is there is a thing called the 10% rule.
I know about the 10%.
And the 10% rule says you can only increase the recommended budget from the budget committee by 10% from the floor. And one year that meant, because there was a big ticket item that the selectmen went, that the budget committee didn't recommend, and they couldn't do a floor amendment to get it because it would have exceeded the 10% rule. That's the only time I remember that it came into play in Lyme. In my 30 years or so playing the budget game here in town. But it did come up once. And one selectman was very unhappy.
So, thank you, Dick. My second question, and I apologize, you probably talked about this at one of the meetings when I was not here. Why are the benefits up 15%?
Health insurance.
Well, now.
Health insurance drives the benefits.
Just health insurance?
Yeah, and
Okay.
right now, I think that you said that that's probably realistic, like that
It
could
is-
potentially
it
be
is-
the increase this year.
It is
Right.
confirmed, 15.6%. Excuse me for health insurance. It's choking me
Thank
up.
goodness for Medicare.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say
But-
that,
Don't-
you say
don't-
that,
don't
but
go down that-
Medicare,
don't go that-
Medicare is
Be
costing
here all night
us
trying to
all.
Yes.
Also, our Medicare B premiums have gone up.
Right.
Oh, I know.
My first Medicare B premium was like $70, and it's up to $140 now a month.
Yeah.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
James, thank you.
Good job, Jim.
Is there a way to
Hayes, you
dial
down
in
second?
next
Yes,
week
sir.
after this meeting?
Big
That's
nose?
up to Deb.